Either a 49-year drought or a 35-year drought will come to an end. Hey, how are you, folks? Jason Horowitz, glad to be with you here on CBSSports.com. Your preview of the Stanley Cup Finals brought to you by the California Almond Board. Become a pro snacker this season with a handful of California almonds. Chicago's last cup, 61. The Flyers, 75. Our NHL columnist Wes Goldstein joins us. And Wes, it's been a long wait for both these cities, at least to win a cup. And maybe during the regular season, this was an unlikely matchup. 24 points separated these two in the different conferences. But having said that, they're both playing fantastic heading into the final. So how close are they in terms of how they're playing now?
Oh, I think they're very close. You know, the truth is that you throw out everything that happened during the regular season, and you look at where these two teams are now, and these are two very good teams that deserve to be here. There's a lot of talent on both sides. They're playing very well, and neither of them got through the playoffs by fluke.
Wes, you know, the Flyers were a middle-of-the-road defensive team during the regular season. They, goalie by committee based on injuries and all that stuff. But they've gone pretty much into lockdown mode the last 3 games against Boston and that historic comeback, and then in the 5 games against Montreal for the most part. But how different and more dynamic is this Blackhawks attack?
Well, that's going to be the key. I don't think, without taking any credit away from the Flyers, because they have played very well defensively. The top 4, you got Pronger and Carl in one unit, Timonen and Braden Coburn in the other. They've been really, really good. And the thing is, their forwards are putting a lot of back pressure. They're helping them out. So give them full credit for everything they've done. It's been, very real. However, none of the teams that Philadelphia has faced to this point, neither Montreal nor New Jersey or Boston, had the kind of offense and firepower and speed that the Blackhawks did. So that's going to be a real challenge for them. Plus, the Blackhawks forwards are big. Not only can they move, and score goals, and that's, that was supposedly Montreal's strength, but these Blackhawk forwards are big, unlike Montreal. They will get in front of the net, or they're going to try to, and they're going to try and wreak some havoc there.
And that makes Chris Pronger a huge X factor on the blue line for the Flyers. But you know that, Wes, you always talk about, and people always do with hockey, that goalies, when they get on hot streak, they can carry you to a Stanley Cup. With the way that Michael Leighton is playing, he's coming off 3 shutouts in the Eastern Conference Finals. Do you see that type of guy in that type of zone?
Who's to say? It's very hard to say. I've seen goalies in the past. I remember people talk about Ken Dryden and Patrick Watt and their initially. I remember this guy in Montreal, Steve Penny, who had a couple of great playoff series, stole a couple of series from Montreal, and beat out really good teams, and then kind of like faded away from there. Leighton is definitely in his zone, and the team is playing very well in front of him. I think it's going to be a real challenge for him to keep that kind of streak going with an offensive team like Chicago. Really, that's going to be the key for the Flyers. I mean, can they slow them down? I think that Leighton has been good, but he's going to be tested for sure.
And Leighton started his career with Chicago, the journeyman goalie, so maybe a little bit of revenge here, though he certainly got an opportunity. We always talk about young players in the NHL and superstars, and Sidney Crosby won his cup. Alex Ovechkin still looking for that. But with Chicago, you have a couple of great ones in Taves and Kane. What do you think people are going to learn about these two guys with this final?
I think that when this series is over, and if people don't know this already, that Jonathan Taves is going to be mentioned in the same class as Crosby and Alexander Ovechkin in terms of quality of a player. His numbers may not be as eye-popping as those two guys, but what this guy does and the way he plays the game and everything he does, I mean, just to give you an example, this guy was basically a 3rd or 4th liner in Vancouver at the Olympics, and he ended up as being named the tournament's most valuable forward. This kid can play. He does everything. He's a leader. He's like 22 years old and the captain. I think you're going to see, in the national spotlight with, he's had a great playoff so far, but I think in the national spotlight, he's really going to come through, and people are going to realize how good a player he really is.
All right, Wes, aside from the stars, aside from the goalies, who are your X factors in this series for both teams?
Well, I think on the Flyers side, the guys who I'm looking to right now are Claude Giroux, their 3rd-line center, has been scoring a lot of important goals and doing a lot of good work that doesn't necessarily get on the radar, of killing penalties, doing very well in the face-off circle. I think he's been an impact player, and I think Ville Laino, who they got from Detroit mid-season and was a healthy scratch a lot of time, has kind of just exploded in these playoffs in terms of what he's done. He's playing on a 2nd line there. He's scoring goals. He's working well with Danny Briere and Scott Hartnell. So I think either those two guys will have the room to come through. Because remember, star players on both teams are going to get a lot of attention. It always comes down to guys, who perhaps have a little more room. And on the Chicago side, Dave Bolland has really impressed me. I know everybody's talking about Dustin Byfuglien, and for very good reason, but Boland's been the guy who's setting him up, and Boland's doing all kinds of work, and he's scoring key goals, and he's winning in the face-off circle. I think he's going to be an impact player for the Blackhawks. And Brian Campbell, because everybody is looking at Duncan Keith and Brent Seabrook, the top two defensemen. They do a great job. Campbell, again, is going to be a little bit under the radar to start the series. He's got a great amount of talent. He has that big contract. This is his chance to live up to it.
Well, we'll see what all plays out when the finals get going on Saturday. Wes, you'll be in Chicago, and you'll cover every single game. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.
All right, folks, for more on the Stanley Cup Finals, keep it right here with CBSSports.com, including Wes's preview of the series right here on the site as well. For Wes Goldstein, I'm Jason Horowitz. Take care, folks.